Hey guys, what's happening? This is going to be part 7 in learning to read with dyslexia by a dyslexic, me. Okay, so for part 7, we're going to talk about something that I've talked about before in the past, but here we want to understand it in terms of us attacking something with our read. Because before we talk about in step number 6, the psychology with how our psychology affects us. The reason why, if we believe we can't do something, the reason why is because of trauma in the past. And the reason why we don't believe in ourselves is because of trauma and everything we had in the past. Now I want to take it a step forward and moving into action. As in before we we started from talking about all about dyslexia, all about how it affects people, about the different minds and the different kind of things that we can learn to implement in ourselves in our own learning process. And as well, if we're teaching, how can we teach a dyslexic to learn to read in an effective way? And I gave you the sort of brief overview and understandings so you can go, okay, you're a dyslexic person and this is how your mind operates different from a neurotypical person when it comes down to reading. Now, we're talking into action. We're talking about into, okay, moving forward, how can we actually do this and take an action? Now, one of my goals with doing this is obviously want to improve our reading and massively improve it. And I want to give you all these tools and techniques that I've learned over the years. But one other goal that I have of doing this is so that people can start to have a look at and start to see the possibility that one thing that's out there is that learning to read doesn't have to be slow. Learning to read doesn't have to take so many times. And I'm teaching all these little strategies and techniques that I still use today. But what helped me improve my English is more than anything else is going through this reading method that I went through about a year ago. I've tried everything in the past. I tried all these other little concepts, little things, went through dyslexia school, all these other dyslexic approaches. And they work over a long period of time and put thousands of hours in with someone as severe as me. They may work more better for someone else. But there's one thing that I think is clear, is that all these other strategies are completely inferior than to this strategy that only takes one time and it's only like one little program you go through. And one of my goals is for you to try it. It's for you to test it out. It's completely risk-free to test it out and to see the challenges and to see the affect it for yourself. Don't like it, fine, no harm, no foul, nothing's happened. You didn't lose anything. Okay, guys. So for that, I'm really want people to try it. I'm scheduling a free 30-minute call. Talk to me about yourselves, about your dyslexia. Use all your little ones or people you're teaching, and you'll discuss this tool that could help them tremendously. And in my experience, more than anything that I've or other people have ever done before. So, guys, schedule a call, link down below for that, and I hope you enjoy today's episode.
So the big question is this: how can dyslexics like us create a place, a community, a tribe where people at any stage of life can come and solve any challenge, amplify their strengths, and ultimately help them become who they were meant to be, or in other words, conquer their dyslexia? That is the question, and this show is the answer. My name's Theo Goff, and welcome to the Conquering Dyslexia podcast.
Okay, guys, let's get to today's episode about mucking up your dyslexia. So, what do I mean when I say mucking up our dyslexia? It all starts off with, the reason why I say this is because it's a funny name. It was a book that I put my name in. I called it, I actually called it F My Dyslexia, but I don't want to swear on it. I don't want to, I don't want kids to watch me swearing. But okay, I did call it Fuck Dyslexia on my book. Because I laughed. I was human 17 at the time. I wrote that down. I had over a dozen of them books, and I called this is my Fuck Dyslexia Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, blah 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 blah. And in those books, my whole idea is that I want to work so hard. And the books were solely designed for me to improve my own reading, spelling actually that was for. And my whole mindset, I want to work so hard on my dyslexia that was going to muck it up. Because I remember, like, in my head, I was like, I'm going to go to war with my dyslexia. And that's how it's felt. And kind of, that's kind of what I want to instill on you. I'm like, I want to go war with my dyslexia. I want to fight it. Because what I said to myself, I was like, okay, every day since I was born, I was having like this battle with myself. This battle with this part of me that's different than everyone else. And I was battling with that part to see if that part would make me do things differently, or make me not do things because of my dyslexia, or because of this difference. Not do things like putting my hand up, not do things like taking chances, like try and spell out something, try and, crack a joke, try and speak to that person, try and go for that opportunity. And because of all the things that dyslexia was stopping me doing, in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to war with this. I'm going to war with this side of myself, to not let this side of myself have a say in anything I do. I'm gonna get so strong. I'm become so resilient that yes, I am different in this way. I'm different brain wiring in this way, in this pattern. But I'll be damned if that was going to stop me doing anything I wanted to do in my life. And I got to this point when I was like 17, but I realized before I got to that point, I was letting my dyslexia control my life, dictate my decisions. I was letting the struggles that this was facing, the struggles I was facing with my dyslexia, affect me in all of these different ways. And I had enough. I was like, okay, I'm not going to let that. I'll be in charge of my life, not this thing called dyslexia, or this thing that we label with whatever label is diversity. Okay, I want to control it, because at this point, I kind of felt, at this point, it was clear to me, okay, dyslexia was clear. I could label it. I could see it. I could kind of see the lines where, okay, it affects me reading, writing, losing things, concentration, sense of directions, blah, 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 blah. And I kind of could label it. I could see it clearly, saying, this, I call this I do this because I'm neurodiverse and dyslexic. Also, I have other gifts that you kind of discover over time, and it's a big journey we go on. And so realizing that, identifying it, saying, I don't want this thing to stop me in my life, and I'm going to work so hard, I'm going to overcome all the challenges I'm facing to do that. And I came about doing that. And I did it in so many different ways. And one of the ways was my Muck Up Dyslexia booklet, where, God, I remember spending about 3 hours a day on it. I remember getting a bus to school, about half an hour journey bus to school. And I would sit on the bus, I would be tired because we'd get up at 3 a.m, or whatever, open this book, and then I'd be like, okay, let's go. And then I'd write in it, say there's a word that I couldn't spell. Let's say cat. I can't spell it, but I'd go, cat, and I'd read it, and I would write it, I'd circle it with my fingers, I'd write it in the sky, and I would try and close my eyes and get so intense in my head where I could see the image, the letters burning a hole in my head. And once I imagine it really fast, and then I'd write that word down on the piece of paper really fast, not looking at the original spelling, just writing it down through the repetition of spelling. And then I would look back to the old word that I tried to spell, and if the spelling is correct, good, I can move on. If the spelling's incorrect, after practicing it again and again and again. And I did a similar approach later on in my spelling, where I would test myself once a week, officially test myself once a week, with not looking at the word, and I test myself every single day by spelling 20 words. If I get the word right 3 times, I can move on in a row, 3 times in a row, that is. And so I'd have this strategy of mucking up my dyslexia. And my mindset was, I'm not going to let dyslexia stop me doing things. And I feel like I achieved that. Not 100%, not a million %, because dyslexia affects us. Now, here's something very, very clear I want to say. Dyslexia affects our life. It does affect our decision. But what I mean when I say muck up our dyslexia, I mean, never let it stop you doing something you want to do. Let me say it again. Never let dyslexia stop you doing something that you want to do. This is something you want to do, like it's a test you want to take, or it's a job you want to have, or it's a profession, or it's an activity you want to do. Never let your dyslexia stop you doing it. And it's just a commitment you have to keep with yourself, and that's with mucking up dyslexia. Say when it comes to reading, translate to reading. I want to read the Harry Potter books. Then okay, something you want to do. I want to read the Harry Potter books. Then you have to go to this go into the second stage, solving the problems. Okay, reading. Let's say you read. Let's say you start to read now. Oh, it's hard. Oh, it's this. Oh, you haven't got time. Time is effort. Hard. You can't understand it. All these other things. First thing you have to realize is that it's down to you. It's down to you to do it, and you have to put it working. You have to put the hours in. What I say a lot is you have to take responsibility of it. Like, and any problems that have not directly with your dyslexia, like time, like access to the book, like those sort of things, it's down to you to solve. You have to make time. You have to put in the effort. You have to commit to this. Okay. Then once you have a set amount of time where you decide, okay, you're going to read, then you're reading. Let's say you want to plan an hour, but you can only read for 20 minutes because your head hurts and it's very slow and it's very hard, or sometimes you read something and you don't understand what you read. Then, and then you have to go into the kind of problem solving mode. And after we go into problem solving mode, with dyslexia, we have a multitude of problems, and we just get through life with them. But multiple when it comes to socially, when it comes to organization, when it comes to remember things, when it comes to like not losing things, and all these other things, all these other challenges we have, getting written work done for work, or all these other challenges, there's only 3 types of solutions. When we're marking up our dyslexia, there's only 3 types of solutions in that, and I want us to really realize this, because all problems, really, in a sense, because of the way they can be solved with these 3. So all the problems in the world, okay. But we're not talking about all the problems in the world. Just talking about you, reading, and dyslexia in general. First type of solutions is that you solve it. You solve it by going at it directly. You solve the problem, as in with the reading. Now, I would not recommend this with reading. Okay. Well, in a sense, I've solved it into a certain level, but with the reading, the way you would solve it is go through the reading method that I went through. That's made me read so much better than I could ever read before. I'm going through it, and it felt like I was reading like a neurotypical, like someone who hasn't got dyslexia. So you solve the problem, like you actually learn to read. You take the method, you take some other method, and over the years, over the thousands of pounds of this other method, then you learn to read. Okay, at a level that's very good. And so we solve the problem. That's the first step. First step, solve the problem. The first type of solution, solving it. Now, sometimes it's not good. Like I've put thousands of hours in trying to learn to spell. I still can't spell, because I can learn to spell a word, and then, well, great, I can learn to spell a word, and a lot of times in a couple of years or so, and give it some time, I revert back to not being able to spell it correctly. And don't worry, it gets better. So slowly progressive upwards, but when I pour time and energy into it for years, this is after school, or on my own time, it's gone, for me personally, it can get better, but still it's like climbing Mount Everest when you're only hopping. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, great, after years you're making some progress, but once you get to the level of being able to spell, that's still, you know what I mean, like hundreds of years at this progression rate, if that makes sense. So, solving the problem would not be effective for this problem. So that goes into the second option, is have a workaround. This is where 80%, so solving the problem is like 5%. Like 5 to 10% of all the dyslexic solutions. Get better. Get better at reading, get better at writing, get better at organization, get better, and you get better at your skills to solve it. Second one is to have a workaround. This is where 80% of all of our solutions come from, is finding a workaround, okay? Finding a workaround. This can be spellings, spell check, Grammarly, having someone else checking. Have a strategy where you're working around your challenges. And these things are, now what's beautiful now, being dyslexic, the more time goes on, the more technology has caught up, so it can help us more. So it helps us more with our workarounds. That's why technology is amazing for that, okay? And with reading, workarounds, audio, put it into Word, have it listen back to you, get an audio book of it, get your friend to read to you. There's all these other workarounds we can use, okay? Third solution, this is where maybe 10%, 5 to 15 really, depending on how severe you are, of dyslexics, is where you can't find a workaround, can't find a solution. Say, people okay, let's say people misunderstanding you because you're dyslexic, people having these are challenges that you can't directly change, you can't find a workaround, and you can't solve. A lot of these are to do with external people, to be honest. And say if people don't understand your dyslexia, people have misunderstandings of your dyslexia, yes, you can try and like educate people one at a time, or do things like this, dyslexia advocacy, to help the world. But you mean in the UK, in America, in these more modernized education systems, dyslexia is getting more and more widely well known as a diversity, as how it should be well known. But now in Thailand, most people don't know what the word dyslexia means. These are people in education not knowing what dyslexia means, and just meaning as something that's challenging with reading, but not actually more of the accurate sense. Because I remember once, I think it was yesterday, I was explaining to one person I was working with what dyslexia is, and then some other person, Link, well, couldn't Link. I was trying to explain to this person called Katie about dyslexia. Anyway, this person said, Link knows about dyslexia and what I'm doing. And he said, don't explain it complex, you won't understand. Just explain it simply, like you have trouble with reading and writing. And then I was like, well, that's not explaining dyslexia. That's giving a false representation of it. But it is. False representation, think it's only a negative, which it's not. Okay, then I try to explain it in simple words. We got there. But anyway, it's that the reason, like, we'll always meet people who have a misunderstanding of dyslexia. So to find a workaround, can't find a workaround. We have to find a change of mindset, viewing it differently. So instead of viewing them as bad people or getting upset by them, saying, okay, this is just the world it is. That's completely fine. It's completely fine if you think like that. It's not your fault. You just got conditioned that way. Same thing as like controlling the weather. You can't control the weather at all. So like, but you can control your emotions. Instead of being angry and upset and miserable because it's raining, you can be happy. You can enjoy it. It can be fresh air. It can be nature. Like sometimes it's raining, I can enjoy it because it's nature. It's fun. Anyway, guys. So there's 3 solutions to it. Let me recap it really fast. First one: solve the problem. You solve it. 5 to 10% of dyslexic challenges can be solved that way. Second one: have a workaround. This is where 80, probably even more % of the challenges are solved. Is where we actually have a workaround from the challenge. Spell check, have someone to read back to you, audiobooks, all that kind of stuff. Having other people, other technology, really helpful. And the third thing, finally, is to have a change of mindset. View it differently. Now, I just want to give you a little overview. I know I explained it for a little bit long. This is one of the longer episodes, but here are the workarounds. So, guys, now it's my challenge to you. I'm offering you a challenge, offering you a gift to take on this challenge to muck up your dyslexia, especially with reading. Muck up your dyslexia with reading, okay? Now it comes to the point of actually taking action to want to muck it up. Okay, what one are you going to adopt? Are you going to try and solve it? Which you can solve to a certain level. Okay, I mean, I don't know how severe you are and your capabilities or the ranges of people you work with have dyslexia. I know for me, like, I took this universal reading method. It felt like I could read like a neurotypical, but yeah, I'm no genius. Like I like my average reading, like words per minute, it's not like in the expert level. It's more in the average range. Now, which feels expert for me, but guys, find a workaround for that. Find a solution or workaround, or change your approach. So now it's time to take an action. But the most important thing I want us to get from this is to have the understanding of mucking up our dyslexia, of going to war with it, is to never, ever let your dyslexia stop you doing something you want to do. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know it was a long one. If you want to schedule time to talk with me, see how you or like your little one or people you work with can massively improve your reading ability, completely free, schedule call with me now. Anyway, guys, take care, farewell, and bye.